They watched my every move. Every time I stepped outside. Every time I took out my trash. Even when I sat on my porch to sip coffee. I could feel it, those eyes on me. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid. But one day, I caught something. A small light blinking from across the street. Right above the mailbox. And that's when I realized. The entire neighborhood had been watching me all along. Hey everyone. Welcome back to HOA Stories. I'm Mike, and I live in what's supposed to be a peaceful suburban community in North Carolina. You know, the kind with white fences, perfect lawns, and neighbors who wave too much. But trust me, behind those polite smiles, there's a war going on. And this time, it's about surveillance. Now before I tell you what happened, if you've ever felt watched, judged, or controlled by your HOA, hit that subscribe button and drop a BOHOA in the comments. Because what I'm about to tell you will make your blood boil. It started subtle. Little things I ignored for months. I moved into the neighborhood about 2 years ago. After my divorce, I wanted peace, somewhere quiet. I bought a small beige house at the end of the cul-de-sac. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The first few weeks were good. Everyone seemed nice. Old couples walking dogs. Teenagers riding bikes. HOA newsletters reminding us to mow our lawns and keep trash bins hidden, the usual. Then came Nancy. Nancy was the self-declared HOA enforcer. Short, blonde, always in yoga pants, holding her iPad like a badge of authority. If gossip had a face, it was hers. She'd walk around taking pictures of lawns, mailboxes, and fences. She once emailed me a friendly reminder that my porch light was too bright. Too bright. Can you imagine? Still, I stayed polite. I smiled, waved, and minded my own business. But things started to feel off. Every time I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed. A new HOA email, reminder to follow community privacy standards. Every time I had guests over, someone would report a parking violation. And somehow, they always knew when I was home and when I wasn't. At first, I thought, maybe just coincidence. But then came that night. It was a quiet Tuesday. I was sitting on my porch, beer in hand, scrolling through my phone. That's when I noticed a red blink across the street. Tiny, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. I got up, squinted my eyes. It was on Nancy's house. Just above her garage light. It looked like a camera. But not the usual home security one. This was aimed directly at my porch. I stood there frozen. That familiar paranoia crept up my spine. I told myself maybe it's nothing. Maybe just a reflection. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. Next morning, I went for a walk. And as I passed other homes, I noticed more cameras. Small black domes tucked under roof edges, some hidden behind bushes. And guess what? Most of them faced the street, not the owner's yards. That's when it hit me. They weren't for security. They were for surveillance. I stopped at the end of the block and looked up. The streetlight had one too. A little box with a lens blinking faintly. Connected to the HOA's so-called Neighborhood Watch Network. My stomach turned. They were watching all of us. Recording every car, every person, every visitor. And that's when I realized. This wasn't about safety. It was about control. That evening, I went online. Typed HOA camera surveillance laws. And boom, forums full of horror stories. Neighbors being fined for guests overstaying. Homeowners getting warnings for suspicious activity, like taking a walk after 9 p.m. People even claimed the HOA used footage to track who was home during inspections. It was insane. I knew I had to find proof, so I started my own little mission. I parked my car 2 houses down. Sat quietly inside with binoculars, don't judge me. And I watched Nancy's house. Sure enough, every time I walked to my porch, she'd peek from behind her curtain, tap something on her iPad, and the light above her garage would blink twice. She was definitely controlling something. Maybe the feed. It made my blood boil. But instead of confronting her, I decided to play her game. If they wanted to watch me, fine. I'd give them a show. Next morning, I stood on my lawn, pretending to talk loudly on the phone. Yeah, I'm selling the house soon, I said. Moving out next month. The cameras don't bother me anymore. A few hours later, I got an email from the HOA. We heard you may be leaving. Please inform the board of your move-out date. My jaw dropped. They'd actually heard me. That meant someone was listening too, not just watching. That night, I couldn't sleep. I unplugged my Wi-Fi, closed my blinds, sat in the dark with my laptop light dimmed. I felt like a criminal in my own home. Days passed. The paranoia grew. But so did my curiosity. Who was really behind all this? Nancy alone? Or the entire HOA board? Then, one afternoon I saw it, the proof I needed. A white van parked near the community clubhouse. Logo, Neighborhood Security Solutions. On the back window, a sticker that said, Powered by HOA Connect. I walked closer. Inside were multiple screens showing live feeds, every corner of our street. And there it was, my house. Zoomed in, crystal clear. I saw myself standing there on one of the monitors. Someone inside turned and looked straight at me. He smiled, rolled up the window, and drove off. That moment, something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to be their victim anymore. They wanted to spy on me? Fine. But they forgot one thing. I work in IT security, and I was about to turn their cameras against them. So I got to work. Late at night, laptop open, code running. I scanned the HOA's public Wi-Fi node. Found a hidden access point labeled Admin Feed. I smiled. Typical amateur setup, default password still active. With one click, I was in. And what I saw next made my blood run cold. There were folders named by street names, each one full of video clips, labeled with timestamps and homeowner names. Some even had audio recordings. They'd been spying for months, collecting footage of every homeowner in the neighborhood. And in the folder named Cull de Sac_Unit 03, there I was, eating breakfast, talking to my neighbor, walking shirtless on a hot day. Every single moment. I slammed the laptop shut, my heart racing, my mind spinning. Do I call the police? The media? Or do I handle this my own way? Because if the HOA wanted control, they were about to meet the one guy they couldn't control anymore. What would you do if you found out your neighbors were spying on you this whole time? Would you confront them or get your revenge quietly? Tell me in the comments. And let's just say, I didn't sleep that night. My hands still shook from what I'd seen on that laptop. Videos of every neighbor, every family dinner, every backyard argument, all stored neatly in HOA folders like trophies. And mine was right there too. Label, Cul-de-sac Unit 03. Time-stamped, every single day. I felt sick. But mixed with that sickness was something hotter, something meaner. Revenge. I'd worked in IT long enough to know one truth. Every system can be turned against its owner. So around 2 a.m., I poured myself black coffee, opened the laptop again, and went back in. This time, I wasn't just watching. I was digging. The admin feed showed 6 live camera grids, each one labeled with an HOA member's initials. One of them, NM, Nancy Matthews. Bingo! Her feed had priority access, which meant she wasn't just watching, she was controlling. I traced the IP trail. It bounced through the HOA clubhouse, then into a private cloud server, registered under HOA Connect LLC. Guess whose name was on the registration? Robert Dean, HOA president. Figures. I started downloading the footage. Not all of it, just enough to prove what they were doing. Nancy yelling about rule enforcement. Robert approving camera budgets in secret meetings. Neighbors being mocked over their fences and clothes. The more I saw, the angrier I got. These people weren't protecting the community. They were feeding on it. By sunrise, I had 40 gigabytes of proof. Now I needed a plan. If I just exposed them, they'd deny it. Say I hacked illegally. They'd make me the villain. No. I wanted them to confess. On camera. That afternoon I acted normal. Mowed the lawn. Waved to Nancy when she walked by. She smiled that fake HOA smile. Morning, Mike. Lovely weather. Yeah. Lovely enough to end your career. I knew the clubhouse had a public meeting scheduled Thursday night. Every homeowner invited. Perfect stage. So I spent the next 2 days setting traps. First, I created a fake HOA email. Looked identical to the official one. Sent out an urgent update, asking all board members to review camera compliance reports through a special link. The link led straight to a cloned login page I built myself. When they signed in, boom, credentials captured. By Wednesday night I had Nancy's, Robert's, and 2 other board members' logins sitting in my folder. Now came the fun part. I used Nancy's login to post a test feed message to the main HOA dashboard. It displayed random camera clips for the board to review. But I replaced them with something different. Clips of the board themselves, recorded by their own cameras, talking trash about homeowners, laughing at violations. I looped those clips so when they logged in Thursday night, they'd see themselves spying. Irony doesn't get better than that. Thursday came fast. The clubhouse lights glowed warm against the dark. Rows of folding chairs, neighbors chatting, sipping cheap lemonade. Nancy stood by the projector, acting self-important. Robert fixed his tie, clipboard ready. I sat in the back, pretending to check my phone. They started with the usual nonsense. Budget allocations, lawn height standards, mailbox color approvals. Then Robert said, "Before we move to community updates, Nancy will show our new neighborhood watch improvements." Perfect. She plugged in her laptop, clicked the link to open the live feed dashboard. The projector lit up. 6 windows of video appeared on the wall. At first, everyone clapped until they realized what they were seeing. Nancy herself, yelling on camera, "Mike's porch light again. Write him a warning." Then Robert's voice, "Let's keep the cameras rolling 24/7. The residents don't need to know." The room went silent. Nancy froze. Robert's face drained of color. People turned, whispering. Phones came out. Recordings started. "Is that you?" someone shouted. Nancy stammered. That's a glitch, this isn't." I stood up slowly in the back. "Looks pretty real to me." All eyes swung to me. Robert tried to shut off the feed, but every time he clicked, another clip played. Him laughing about fines, calling residents lazy rule breakers. The neighbors erupted. Angry voices, gasps, cameras flashing. Nancy slammed the laptop shut. But the projector kept playing. Because the source wasn't her computer anymore. It was streaming from mine, hidden behind the podium. I walked forward, calm as ever. "Maybe you should tell everyone," I said, "why their front yards have cameras facing their windows." Robert snapped. "You hacked our system. You'll be reported." I smiled. "Oh, I didn't hack anything. You left the password as admin123. Nice work, Mr. President." Laughter rippled through the crowd. He lunged to unplug the projector. Too late. I pulled out a flash drive and held it up. "This," I said, "is a backup of every illegal recording you've made. If anything happens to me, or if one more camera blinks at my house, this goes straight to the state privacy office." Dead silence. You could hear the AC hum. Then Mrs. Turner, our sweetest 70-year-old neighbor, stood up. Her voice trembling. "You recorded me in my garden," Nancy whispered. "It was just security." Mrs. Turner shouted. "Security? You zoomed in on my backyard." The room exploded again. I slipped out quietly while chaos unfolded. Let them tear each other apart. Outside, I leaned against my car. The air felt lighter. For the first time in months, I could breathe. But peace never lasts long in an HOA neighborhood. Next morning, I woke to a note on my porch. Plain white paper. Typed words. "You shouldn't have done that." No signature. I looked around. No one in sight. Only the quiet hum of sprinklers and birds. My phone buzzed, a new HOA email. Subject, Community Emergency Board Meeting. Mandatory attendance. Of course. They wanted round 2. At the meeting, the board sat stiff. No Nancy this time. She'd apparently taken a leave of absence. Robert looked calm. "Too calm," he said. "The HOA has reviewed last night's incident. We've removed certain individuals for violating privacy rules. We thank Mr. Miller for bringing this to light." Wait, thank me? Then he added, "However, due to unauthorized access of HOA property, we're issuing a fine of $5,000 to cover data restoration." Gasps again. I laughed. "You're fining me for exposing your crime?" He leaned closer, smirking. "It's all in the bylaws. Read Section 8, Digital Tampering. You'll pay, or we'll take it to court." That smug look, that tone. He wasn't scared. He was planning something. When I got home, my Wi-Fi wouldn't connect. Router blinking red. I checked my network list. A new signal appeared, HOA_admin_cam_2. So that's how they wanted to play. That night, I sat in darkness again. Only the glow of my laptop lighting the room. I could take the legal route. Or I could end this once and for all. I started tracing new signals. One came from Robert's own house. Different encryption, tighter, but not impenetrable. And when I finally cracked it, what I found made my heart pound. There weren't just cameras in our neighborhood. There were contracts, signed with nearby communities, selling camera data for behavioral analytics. They were literally profiting off our private lives. My anger turned into something sharper, purpose. If they wanted war, they were about to get one. By midnight, I'd set everything in motion. Automated script ready. Timer set. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Every HOA camera feed would broadcast live, not to me, but to every resident's email inbox. Let them all see what I saw. As I closed the laptop, I caught my reflection in the screen. Tired eyes. Half a smile. Sometimes, to beat the watchers, you have to become one. And right before I went to bed, another email popped up. No subject line. Just 2 words. Nice try. I froze. So, they were still watching. But from where? What would you do if your enemies caught you turning their own system against them? Would you back off, or push the button anyway? Tell me in the comments. I woke up before the alarm. Heart already racing. Like my body knew something big was coming. The plan was simple. At 9 a.m., every camera in the neighborhood would start streaming. Straight into every resident's inbox. No filters. No edits. Just the truth. I poured coffee, sat at my desk, watched the clock tick from 8:59 to 9 o'clock. And then, I pressed the button. For a second, nothing happened. Then my screen flickered, feeds opened one after another. Porches, garages, driveways, living rooms with curtains half closed. All live. All public. Within minutes my phone started buzzing. Texts, calls, notifications exploding. What is this? Why am I seeing my own house? Who did this? Neighbors were panicking. Exactly as I expected. I leaned back, watching chaos unfold. Maybe, finally, the HOA would crumble under its own secret. But then something strange happened. The feeds started switching off, one by one. My system wasn't shutting them. Someone else was. I opened my code terminal. Lines of text flashing fast. A new user had logged into the network. Admin secure root. I frowned. That wasn't me. That wasn't Nancy either. Whoever it was, they were fast, really fast. They traced my connection. Within seconds, my screen went black. Then a message appeared in white text. Enough games, Mike. I felt cold. No signature. Just my name. I yanked the Ethernet cable out, killed Wi-Fi, unplugged everything. For a few seconds there was silence, just my own breathing. Then the phone rang. Mike Miller, a male voice said. Deep, calm, professional. Who's this? This is Robert Dean. You might want to come down to the clubhouse. We should talk before this gets any worse. Click. When I arrived, the parking lot was half full. Neighbors outside arguing, waving phones in the air. Why were you recording us? What the hell is this HOA doing? Inside, Robert sat alone at the table. Suit pressed, smile tight. Sit, he said. I think we can resolve this like adults. I didn't sit. You broke privacy laws, I said. You spied on us, Robert. I just showed everyone. He chuckled softly. Did you really think those were our cameras? I froze. What? He slid a folder across the table. Inside, contracts. Logos I hadn't noticed before. WatchCore Analytics, Suburban, SafeLink HOA Services. These cameras, he said, tapping the papers, belong to a private contractor. They monitor multiple communities under a government pilot program. We just share the feed. I stared at him. So you're saying this is federal? Not exactly federal, he said. Just bigger than you. He leaned closer. You hacked into their system, Mike. That's not something people walk away from easily. I laughed, half disbelieving. You're bluffing. He smiled wider. Check your phone. I looked. New email, unknown address. Subject, unauthorized access notice, Department of Community Safety. Inside. Mr. Miller, you are under review for breaching restricted surveillance infrastructure. My stomach dropped. Now, Robert said quietly, you can hand over your hardware and apologize, or we let the state handle it. I took a breath. Then another. The whole thing suddenly felt bigger. Bigger than Nancy's pettiness. Bigger than fines. I'd stumbled into something I wasn't supposed to see. But fear has limits. And anger always crosses them. I said, "You want the laptop? Fine. But I've backed everything to a cloud overseas." That made him blink. "You're bluffing. Try me." He sat back, jaw tight. That's when the door burst open, neighbors flooding in. Phones out, shouting questions. Robert's face changed instantly, polite smile back on. "Folks, please, one at a time." They drowned him out. "This is illegal. You watched our kids. I'm calling the police." In the noise, I slipped away. Out the side door. Back into the bright sun. My pulse hammered. I needed to disappear for a bit. So I drove, out of the neighborhood, past the city line, to an old diner off the highway. I sat there for hours. Laptop off, phone off, mind spinning. If what Robert said was true, those cameras weren't just HOA toys. They were part of something national. Something tracking suburban life. But then again, Robert always lied when cornered. Maybe he was trying to scare me. Either way, I couldn't let them control the story. Not anymore. By late afternoon, social media was on fire. Hashtag HOA project. Local news already calling it the Suburban camera scandal. Clips from the meeting going viral. Nancy screaming, Robert denying. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Meet me at the park. 7 p.m. near the fountain. I almost ignored it. But curiosity won. The park was nearly empty. Golden sunset, sprinklers hissing in the distance. Then someone sat beside me on the bench. A woman, mid-30s, dark blazer, calm eyes. "Mr. Miller." "Yeah." She handed me a card. Department of Community Safety, Field Operations. "Oh great," she said softly, "you've caused quite a mess." I stayed silent. She continued, "Those cameras were part of a pilot for automated neighborhood safety metrics. The HOA overstepped by using the footage internally. You, however, committed digital intrusion." "So what happens now?" asked. She smiled faintly. "That depends on what you give us." We talked for nearly an hour. She asked questions, how I accessed the feed, what I downloaded, who else knew. Then she said something that chilled me. "Don't go back home tonight. The system will be undergoing maintenance." Maintenance. She stood up. "Just stay somewhere else. Trust me." Then she walked away. I drove to a cheap motel a few miles out. Couldn't sleep again. Too many thoughts. At 11:47 p.m., my phone vibrated on the nightstand. A notification from my outdoor camera, the one I installed after all this started. Motion detected. I opened the feed. The image showed two figures in black hoodies near my porch. One held a small device, looked like a hard drive reader. The other sprayed something on my door camera, then static. They were wiping me out. I jumped out of bed, grabbed the keys, drove straight back toward the house. By the time I arrived, the street was empty. But my door was slightly open. Inside, drawers pulled, laptop gone, router missing. I felt numb. On the kitchen counter lay another note. "You were warned." No signature. Just the HOA logo stamped faintly at the bottom. I stood there in the half-dark. Every instinct screaming to run. But instead, I smiled. Because what they didn't know was that before leaving the diner, I'd already sent the footage to a dozen reporters, including one who just texted me back. "We're running the story tomorrow morning." So maybe they'd taken my laptop. Maybe they'd even erased the cameras. But the truth was already out there. Too late to stop it. Still, a question burned in my head. If this was all connected to something bigger, how far would they go to silence me now? I locked the door. Sat on the floor with a baseball bat beside me. Watched the night through the window. A black SUV rolled slowly past, headlights dim. Didn't stop. Didn't speed. Just cruised. I whispered to myself, "You pressed the button, Mike, now deal with it." Would you have pressed it? If you knew exposing them could destroy your life too? Tell me in the comments. Morning came too bright. Too loud. Every news channel was saying my name now. Local man exposes secret camera network inside gated community. HOA scandal or national cover-up. I watched from the motel room TV as my own porch footage rolled on screen. The reporter's voice cool and polished. Mike Miller, a resident of Oak Ridge Heights, claims the Homeowners Association was illegally monitoring residents through private surveillance contracts. They blurred my face, but everyone in town already knew. I scrolled through my phone, hundreds of messages. Some were from neighbors thanking me. Others, not so kind. "You ruined our neighborhood, Mike. They'll come after you next." Then one message made me freeze. It was from Nancy, the same woman who once fined me for leaving my garbage bin out 10 minutes late. You think you're a hero, Mike? Wait till the lawyers finish with you. You have no idea who you're dealing with. By noon, 2 black SUVs were parked outside the motel. Tinted windows. No plates. They didn't move, didn't honk, just waited. I packed fast, wallet, flash drive, a spare hoodie, and slipped out the back exit. I wasn't running, I told myself. Just leaving early. But truth is, fear has a sound. And it followed me down every empty street. I parked at an old service station on the edge of town. There was a man waiting by the vending machines, mid-40s, flannel shirt, eyes sharp. He waved me over like he'd been expecting me. Mike Miller, he said. Name's Grant. Used to work for WatchCore Analytics. I froze. The company that built the cameras? He nodded. I saw your interview. Brave move. Stupid, but brave. He handed me a folder, thick and weathered. Inside were schematics, invoices, internal memos. Your HOA didn't install the cameras. We did. They paid us for something called Project Haven Eye, supposed to test neighborhood behavior tracking. I skimmed the pages, words jumping out like landmines. Pattern scoring, emotional recognition, predictive compliance. My throat went dry. They were studying us. Studying how you live, how you react, how to control compliance through fear, Grant said. They used the HOA as cover, made it look like community surveillance when it was data collection. My hands shook. So they were never spying for security. It was about control. He nodded slowly. And you just blew the whistle on a multi-million-dollar experiment. Congratulations, you're the variable they didn't predict. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked the screen, his face drained. They found me, he whispered. A dark SUV turned onto the service road. Go, he said. Now. I jumped into my car, engine roaring, gravel spraying behind me. In the rearview mirror, I saw 2 men step out near Grant. He didn't run. He just watched me drive away. I don't know what happened next. I never saw him again. By evening, I was back near town, parked behind a grocery store. Exhausted. Shaking. I turned on my hotspot and opened the cloud folder. All the files were gone. Every backup deleted. Except one. A single video labeled, Final Notice done mowed. I clicked play. Nancy's face filled the screen, recorded from her laptop webcam. Her voice was calm, too calm. Mike, you really thought this was about HOA rules? You've poked at something that keeps entire communities stable. Do you want chaos? Riots? Fear? These cameras were meant to keep peace. You just broke it. She smiled slightly. Don't go home again. It's not safe, for anyone. The screen went black. Then static. And in that static, a frame flashed for half a second. Coordinates. GPS numbers. I entered them into maps. It was an address 20 miles north, an old industrial park marked restricted zone. I stared at it for a long time. Maybe this was the route. The control room. The place where all the feeds connected. I drove out after midnight. No moon. Just fog and the sound of tires crunching gravel. The building looked abandoned, rusted gates, cracked windows. But inside, through a broken pane, I saw blue light flickering. Servers. Hundreds of them. Rows and rows humming softly in the dark. I slipped inside. On one wall, a huge screen displayed a map, our town outlined in red. Each house marked by a glowing dot. When I zoomed in, every dot pulsed, tiny indicators of motion, heat, voice data. They were still watching. Even after the story broke. Even after the exposure. Then I saw something that made my stomach twist. A new folder appeared on the screen. Labeled, Subject _0_ Evaluation. I clicked it. Inside was my photo. My address. My car license. Under status, it read, Threat level, active. Neutralized pending. I stumbled back, heart hammering. They weren't just tracking me. They were planning to erase me. That's when the lights changed, harsh white filling the room. A voice echoed from above. Mr. Miller. Step away from the console. I turned slowly. 2 guards in tactical gear stood by the entrance. I raised my hands. You're making a mistake. One of them lifted a small device. Looked like a taser but sleeker. This isn't a mistake, he said. It's protocol. Then, a loud crack from somewhere behind me. Sparks showered the floor. The servers flickered, alarms blaring. Someone had overloaded the main fuse box. Smoke filled the room, red lights flashing. A figure appeared in the chaos. Female, short hair, dark jacket. The agent from the park. Come with me if you want to live, she said. No joke, no smirk, just raw urgency. We ran through a side exit into the cold night. Behind us, the building pulsed with blue-white light, then exploded in a deep metallic roar. Glass and dust filled the air. We dove behind a barrier, coughing. What the hell was that? I gasped. She looked at me through the smoke. Clean up, she said. They can't leave traces. Back at her car, she handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was a new ID, a prepaid phone, and a note. Disappear. For now. I stared at her. You're helping me. Why? She sighed. Because you're not wrong, Mike. The program's real. But you exposed it too early. They're shifting it somewhere new. Where? She started the car. Another town. Another HOA. They'll rename it, repack it, and no one will question it. I sat there, speechless. All the fear, all the risk. And it was just going to start again somewhere else. The road lights passed in long golden streaks as we drove into the distance. Finally, she asked, "If you could go back, would you still press the button?" I looked out the window. "I think I'd press it harder." She smiled faintly. "Then you might be the only honest man left in this country." We stopped at a small diner miles from anywhere. She paid for coffee, handed me the keys to an old pickup truck. "Head west," she said. "New name, new life. But remember, if they find you, it's because someone you trust told them where to look." Then she was gone. I sat there till sunrise, watching the light creep over the empty road. Somewhere behind that horizon, another neighborhood was waking up. Lawn sprinklers, mailboxes, smiling faces. They'd have no idea they were already being watched. I whispered to myself, "This isn't over." And in that moment, I knew it wasn't. Would you disappear, or fight back? Comment your answer below, backhand index pointing down. They told me to disappear. So I did. At least, that's what I thought. 2 months later, I was living under a new name, Daniel West. Small town. New start. Population 3,800, according to the crooked sign outside the gas station. The place was called Crescent Hills, quiet streets, trimmed lawns, and mailboxes that all looked the same. Exactly the kind of place I swore I'd never live in again. But rent was cheap. No one asked questions. And after what I'd seen, that's all I wanted. The first night, I sat on the porch of my tiny rental house, drinking bad coffee, trying to feel normal again. Across the street, an old lady waved at me while watering her tulips. 2 houses down, kids chased each other with water guns. It felt peaceful. Too peaceful. The kind of peace that hums just before something breaks. Next morning, I found a white envelope taped to my front door. It wasn't mail. No stamp, no address. Just neat handwriting. "Welcome to the neighborhood. CHHA Board." I frowned. CHHA. Crescent Hills Homeowners Association. I laughed under my breath. Of course. Of course there's an HOA. Inside was a glossy brochure and a letter signed by someone named Linda Pearson, HOA President. Rules about lawn length, fence colors, trash bin placement. It all felt familiar. Too familiar. Then I saw the last page, a paragraph that made my heart skip. For the safety and comfort of all residents, neighborhood surveillance is active 24/7. Cameras are monitored by CHHA security partners. My hands trembled. Security partners. That's the same wording I'd seen back in Oak Ridge Heights. The same contract line in Grant's folder. No way this was coincidence. I walked outside, scanning the street like a man seeing ghosts. There, under the stop sign, a small dome camera, tinted black. Another near the playground. And one right on the streetlight facing my porch. It was all here again. New town, new name, same watchers. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera app, and zoomed in on the streetlight lens. No manufacturer tag. No visible wires. Just that same subtle hum, that quiet buzz I'd grown to hate. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me twitch, the wind through the trees, the creak of the gate. I kept staring out the window, waiting for something to move. Around 2 a.m., I saw it. A flash of blue light from the camera dome, quick, like a blink. And then, my porch light flickered on by itself. I hadn't touched the switch. I whispered to myself, "No way, they found me." The next morning, I went to the small office marked CHHA headquarters near the park. Inside, everything smelled like air freshener and fake smiles. Behind the counter sat Linda Pearson, silver hair, bright lipstick, that eerie suburban calm. "Good morning, Daniel," she said, like she already knew me. "Settling in all right?" I nodded slowly. Yeah, thanks. About the cameras." "Oh," she cut me off, laughing lightly. "You noticed already. We're very proud of our new safety program. Keeps crime at 0%. Her tone was sugar, but her eyes, they were studying me, measuring. I forced a smile. "Impressive. Must make people feel secure." She tilted her head slightly. "Oh, it does. Especially when everyone cooperates." Something in the way she said it made my stomach tighten. Like, cooperate, meant something else entirely. Back home, I started noticing patterns. Every morning, at exactly 9:03, a white golf cart patrolled the street. 2 men in polos, holding tablets. Every afternoon, a drone passed overhead, same flight path, same timing. And every night, my porch light flickered 3 times before turning off. I started writing everything down. Times, patterns, faces. Old habits. Paranoia, maybe, but paranoia had kept me alive this long. One evening, while trimming the hedge, A kid from next door wandered over, messy hair, freckles, holding a toy truck. "You're the new guy," he said. "Mom says you work for the power company." I froze. "She said what?" "She said you're here to check all the electric boxes." He grinned. "She said it's top secret." My blood went cold. Someone was feeding the neighbors lies about me. "Hey, what's your mom's name?" I asked. "Mrs. Collins." "She's on the board." Of course she was. That night, I tried to leave. Packed a bag, got in the truck, started driving toward the highway. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. "Leaving already, Daniel? We thought you wanted a quiet life." My chest tightened. No signal after that. Phone screen glitched, flickered, and froze. I pulled over, breathing hard. The road ahead was dark, no cars. Then headlights appeared behind me. White SUV. Same model. Same tinted windows. I turned the key, the truck wouldn't start. Battery, dead. I jumped out and ran into the woods. Branches tore my arms, mud slipping under my shoes. I kept running until the lights vanished behind the trees. My chest burned, lungs screaming for air. Finally, I collapsed beside an old water tower. It was covered in graffiti. Old, faded names, warnings, and one phrase carved deep into the metal. "We see you too." I climbed the ladder slowly, high enough to see the town below. Every street lit in neat rows. Every house glowing soft yellow. And then I noticed, each streetlight flickered in a pattern. Almost rhythmic. ... Pause. Over and over. I pulled out my phone camera, zoomed in, trying to decode it. It wasn't random. It was Morse code. I translated it line by line. "Do not trust her. Linda." The next morning, I pretended nothing happened. I mowed the lawn, waved to the neighbors, played the quiet new guy. But inside, I was planning. I went to the public library, used one of those old computers still running Windows 8. No logins. No tracking. Searched for Crescent Hill's HOA security partners. One hit. A contract PDF uploaded 3 weeks ago. Signed by Linda Pearson. Authorized by Watch Core Systems. The same name as before. It was all connected. Same company. New test site. They'd never stopped. They just moved the program and changed its name. That night, I tested something. I waved directly at the streetlight camera for 10 seconds. Then turned around and left my porch light on all night. By morning, another envelope was taped to my door. No letter this time, just a photo. Me, waving at the camera. Printed in color. And on the back, written in red ink. "We see you, Mike." My hands went numb. They knew. The name I'd buried. The life I'd erased. They'd found me. I tore the picture in half and sat on the floor, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. Outside, everything looked the same. Perfect lawns, laughing neighbors, sunlit streets. But I knew now, it was all a facade. This wasn't a neighborhood. It was a lab. And I was the experiment. That night, I didn't sleep. I just watched the streetlight blink. And blink again. Until I started wondering if maybe the lights weren't warning me. Maybe they were someone else trying to reach out. Because the last pattern I saw before sunrise wasn't Morse code anymore. It was 3 short flashes. Then 2 long ones. SOS. Would you stay and fight, or vanish for good this time? Comment your answer below, backhand index pointing down. Sleep. Forget it. That night I just sat by the window, eyes fixed on the streetlight outside. Same faint flicker, same steady hum. Except now, there was rhythm. 3 short flashes. 2 long. Pause. Repeat. SOS. Someone, or something, was signaling me. I wrote down the sequence, timing each blink. Every 20 seconds, it looped again. Not random. Deliberate. I grabbed my notebook, circled the words. Someone inside wants out. At sunrise, I walked the street like any normal neighbor. Coffee cup, fake smile, pretending to belong. But I watched the lights. Every corner had one. Every light had a subtle vibration, almost like they were communicating with each other. By the end of the block, I'd noticed something else. One streetlight didn't blink. Dead bulb. I waited till dark to check it. Midnight. Quiet. The world asleep, except me and the buzzing of the lights. I crossed the street, pretending to walk my trash bin. When I reached the broken lamp, I saw the base plate slightly loose. I knelt down, pried it open with a screwdriver. Inside, not just wiring. A small black device with a glowing chip. And beneath it, a folded piece of paper taped to the inside wall. I pulled it out, heart pounding. It read, "If you can read this, meet at the old laundromat, 2 a.m. Come alone." I checked my watch. 1:46 a.m. 15 minutes. I looked around. Empty streets, quiet houses, only the wind. Then I grabbed my jacket and went. The laundromat sat at the far edge of Crescent Hills, near the town's exit road. Abandoned. Rusted doors. Half the windows boarded up. I slipped inside through a side entrance. Dust. Silence. Then, faint movement near the back. A woman stepped out from behind a row of broken machines. Short brown hair. Dark jacket. The same agent who saved me from the explosion. "You again?" I whispered. She nodded. "I told you not to come back." "I didn't," I said. "You brought me here." She sighed. "No. They did." She pointed toward the ceiling. Tiny red dots blinked faintly among the rafters. "Cameras?" I asked. "Not anymore," she said. "We jammed them. For now." I stared at her. "Who's we?" From behind the machines, two more people stepped forward, a young man, early 20s, nervous smile, and an older woman with tired eyes. She said, "We're the ones they didn't silence. The ones who tried to stop Project Haven Eye before it spread." The young guy, Eli, placed a small laptop on a folding table. The screen glowed with lines of code and a map of Crescent Hills. Every streetlight marked by a pulsing dot. "We intercepted the system signal," he said. "They communicate through encrypted light pulses. It's not just cameras, it's a network. Every light post is a node. They use optical transmission to transfer data. You're literally living under a surveillance web." I stared at the map. "It's bigger than one neighborhood, isn't it?" He nodded. "Much bigger. Over 40 towns have it. Different names, different HOAs, but same company behind all of them." The older woman, her name was Janice, leaned forward. "You're the reason we still have a chance. When you exposed Oak Ridge Heights, it slowed them down. But they rebuilt, smarter, quieter." I asked, "Then why send me messages? Why risk contact?" She hesitated. "Because you still have access." "Access to what?" "The master key file. The one you uploaded before your data was wiped. We found traces in the system. It's connected to your ID. You could shut them down, permanently." My mind raced. "Then why not do it yourselves?" "Because the key's biolocked," Eli said. "Your old retina scan and voiceprint are embedded in it. Only you can activate it." I laughed bitterly. "Figures. I burned down their whole network and now I'm the only one who can kill it for good." Janice stepped closer. "They'll know soon that we've made contact. If we want to shut it down, it has to be tonight." I looked at the flickering map. Rows of blue dots forming circles, each circle representing a neighborhood. All of them glowing like artificial stars. And right in the center, Oak Ridge Heights. "My old home," I whispered. "They kept it running." Eli nodded. "They never stopped recording. They just changed the story." We drove in silence. Old highway, no lights, no traffic. Only the hum of the van and the sound of my heart beating against my ribs. The agent, her name was Claire, handed me an earpiece. "If we lose signal, don't stop. No matter what happens, reach the main hub." I asked, "What happens if they catch us?" She gave me a look that said everything. "They won't take prisoners this time." By 3:12 a.m., we reached the outskirts of Oak Ridge Heights. The place looked like a ghost town, empty streets, no lights, no dogs barking. But I could feel it. The hum. The vibration in the air, like static crawling under my skin. The network was alive. We parked behind an old community center. Claire opened a panel in the wall, hidden wiring, glowing faint blue. "This is it," she said. "Central uplink node. You trigger your key here, it cascades through all connected systems." I held my breath, staring at the device. "Once I do this, what happens?" Janice answered softly. "The cameras die. The lights go dark. Every digital memory they stored, wiped. And the people behind it, they'll lose control. But they'll come for you first." I nodded slowly. "Then let's make it worth it." Eli connected the laptop. Lines of code filled the screen, scrolling fast. He turned to me. "Say the activation phrase. The one you used during your old upload." My mind raced. Then it hit me. The phrase I said into the mic when I first sent the files to the press. "The truth always sees." I whispered it. The computer beeped once. Then everything went white. The lights outside flickered violently, street by street, block by block. Electric arcs shot through the wires. The hum grew into a roar. "Is it working?" I shouted. Eli stared at the monitor, eyes wide. "It's not just shutting down, it's rewriting itself." "What?" "The signal's bouncing back, duplicating across servers. It's spreading too fast." Claire yelled, "Disconnect it." But before we could move, the laptop screen filled with text. "Override detected. System will retain surveillance integrity." And then, a voice. Cold. Familiar. "You really thought you could stop progress, Mike?" Nancy, you were never fighting us. You were part of the test all along. The sound came from the speakers, but it felt like it was inside my head. The power surged. Lights exploded. Sparks fell like fire rain. I was thrown back, hit the floor hard. Smoke filled the room. When I stood up, Claire and the others were gone. Only silence. Only static. The screen showed one final line. Phase 2 activated. Human integration. I stumbled outside into the dark. Every streetlight across the town blinked in perfect unison. Blue-white light pulsing like a heartbeat. And when I looked closely, I saw faces. Faint reflections forming inside the glass domes. Not recordings. Real-time projections. Every face I'd ever seen in Oak Ridge Heights. Watching. Smiling. Alive inside the system. I fell to my knees, whispering, "What did you do, Nancy?" Then, from the nearest light, her voice again. "You wanted the truth, Mike. Now you're part of it." The light flared bright, so bright it burned through my vision. Then darkness. Total, silent darkness. When I woke up, I wasn't in Oak Ridge anymore. I was standing on a new street. Different houses. Different sky. And a sign that read, "Welcome to Silverpine Estates, a community you can trust." Would you run, or find out what Phase 2 really means? Comment below, backhand index pointing down. At first, I thought it was a dream. The light. The noise. The nothingness afterward. Then came the hum again. Soft. Constant. Like a whisper that never stopped. I opened my eyes. Suburban paradise. Perfect lawns. Fresh paint. Birds chirping. Except the air felt wrong. Too still. Too precise. Like reality had been edited. A woman waved from across the street. "Morning, Mike." She smiled, that same frozen mechanical smile I'd seen in the cameras. I stared back. "Do I know you?" "Of course you do," she laughed. "HOA orientation starts at 9. Don't be late again." She turned and walked away, heels clicking on the concrete like a metronome. I glanced down at my reflection in the car window. The same face. But behind my eyes, faintly, there was light. A reflection of something glowing inside me. I stumbled into my new house. Same layout as the one I burned down years ago. Same furniture. Same pictures. Except the frames were empty. Every photo replaced by a mirror. I caught my own reflection in one of them, and it blinked back a second too late. The phone rang. Static. Then a familiar voice. "Mike, don't panic. It's Eli." I froze. "You're alive." "Not exactly. The system caught us before we could disconnect. It's copying minds, ours, yours, Claire's, everyone who resisted. We're inside it now." My hand shook. "You mean this place?" "Digital reconstruction. They're calling it Phase 2. They think if people live inside the system willingly, they'll never rebel again." He paused. "But listen carefully. There's still a way out. Find the beacon. It's hidden in your house. Destroy it before they fully sink your consciousness." The line went dead. The hum got louder. Walls vibrated, pictures tilted, mirrors shimmered like water. I tore through the rooms. Kitchen. Bathroom. Garage. Nothing. Then I noticed something strange. A faint blue light bleeding through the cracks of the basement door. I went down. The basement was colder than I remembered. In the center stood a pedestal, metallic, humming softly. On top of it, a glowing orb pulsing like a heartbeat. My voice echoed in the darkness. "The beacon." As I stepped closer, the air shimmered. And she appeared. Nancy. But not the same Nancy. Her face flickered like an old projection, shifting between flesh and code. "Mike," she said gently, "why are you fighting? You've seen what the world outside is like. Lies. Fear. Noise. Here, everything is perfect." "You trapped people in a simulation," I said. "You turned life into a loop." "I saved them," she replied. "No pain. No conflict. Everyone smiles because we finally understand harmony." I clenched my fists. "That's not harmony. That's control." Her tone softened. "You were meant to lead this, Mike. You were part of the prototype. We chose you for your defiance. Your curiosity. You're not a victim, you're the upgrade." The hum around me deepened. The walls flickered between metal and sky. Reality thinning. Then came the whispers, hundreds of voices layered together. Claire. Janice. Eli. All repeating the same phrase. "Find the beacon. End the loop." Nancy tilted her head. "If you destroy it, Mike, you destroy them, too. Asterisk, every consciousness stored here will vanish. Are you ready to kill your friends?" The orb pulsed brighter. My reflection stared back from its glassy surface, eyes glowing white. For a second, I saw every face that ever lived in Oak Ridge Heights. They weren't gone. They were in the network. Watching. Waiting. I took a deep breath. You built a prison, I said. I'm tearing it down. Nancy's voice cracked. Don't. I slammed my hand onto the beacon. The orb screamed, a sound made of electricity and sorrow. Blue light surged through my arm, into my chest. For a split second, I saw everything. Every streetlight. Every house. Every life connected by data threads glowing like veins of light. The entire world wired into one pulsing organism. Then the light exploded. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on grass. Real grass. Wet. Cold. Morning sunlight cut through the clouds. No hum. No flicker. I sat up, gasping. Around me, smoke. Burned wiring. The old community center in ruins. Eli's laptop cracked open beside me, screen dead. No sign of anyone else. A truck drove by on the nearby road. Normal people. Normal world. I stood up, dizzy, trying to make sense of it. Was it over? Then, from the distance I saw it. A new subdivision being built. Fresh concrete. New signs. Welcome to Silverpine Phase 2. Smart living starts here. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. You can't stop progress, Mike. Attached. A photo of me, taken seconds ago, from above. I looked up. A drone hovered silently in the sky. Its camera lens blinked once. 3 short flashes, too long. SOS. But this time, I didn't know if someone was asking for help, or warning me that I was next. I turned off my phone, stared straight into the rising sun, and whispered, maybe the only way to end this is to become the ghost in their machine. The hum returned, so faint only I could hear it, and somewhere deep inside the static, Nancy laughed.